Welcome back to the ROKK Rundown. Everybody here is a little giddy and probably a little less sleep full after a night watching the State of the Union or maybe reading the highlights. Want to take a minute to talk a little bit about your takeaways and what you think about the speech itself, how it sets the tone for the rest of 26. Ron, what do you say?
Well, I know Rodell watched the whole thing because he's totally into it. And listen, I think all of us have done a number of State of the Unions where we're actually in the Capitol and we're preparing to react to the President of the United States delivering to Congress what his vision is for the future, for the next year, and a report on what they've done. I did not expect a large laundry list of plans to come out of the State of the Union, and we didn't get that. What we got was President Trump being the ultimate showman of knowing that the first 30 minutes to an hour is what most people are going to watch, and then they're going to go to bed. Or turn to something else. You lose them. So what did he have? He stacked the beginning up with USA Hockey and spent, it felt like 10 minutes on it, you know? That alone was, in the words of Seinfeld, gold, Jerry. Get it? Gold? Gold medal?
Oh, you would have thought he was on the ice with them.
You're right. You would have thought he was on the ice with them. But, I mean, it was, and then, you know, our veterans and our Coast Guard and on. He packed the front end of it with all the people in the gallery to just click through and celebrating America 250. And I thought that was really smart from a showmanship point of view from what Congress would expect. And frankly, I think they may be relieved. They didn't get any orders to do anything. They weren't told, you've got to get this done or else. They have enough pressure on themselves. Speaker Johnson has a very limited majority.
Right.
And, you know, just keeping his members in line is big enough of a job for him to do. So I do think that they got their marching orders on the economy. And that was to sell everything that they've done on the economy so far and sell it positively. One note that I thought was really odd that was missing from the agenda was the MAHA agenda was missing. Nothing. He talked about prescription drugs, but that's not really MAHA. He shied away from anything that HHS was doing, and I wonder if there's something there. I'm really curious about that.
Interesting. It's something to watch, certainly for in the next couple of months. I'm curious, so maybe not the whole 2-hour speech, because that's quite a haul.
No, he told me he watched the whole thing.
But I'm wondering if he stayed up late to watch Abigail Spanberger. And that, because I think the reaction sometimes can be even more interesting than the actual speech itself.
So a couple things, and before I get to Abigail Spanberger, my biggest takeaway is the Democratic winners from last night were the ones that decided not to go to the State of the Union. And I actually hate saying that. Listen, I think that in many ways our traditions are being torn apart. This is one of them. There wasn't a lot, I think, for Dems to truly liken that, and then there were, you know, he set traps for them, and it's hard, you know. The television's on you. You don't know when they're going to pan to you. You know, he's kind of trolling you while at the same point in time you're trying to kind of keep decorum. And then there was like how could you not stand or clap for that? And then there was like a few times where like some Democrats were standing and then others weren't. It just wasn't. You could just tell the Dems that were there that were miserable, and even with the ones that weren't there, I mean, it kind of looked a little bit sparse over on that side. So I think the ones that decided to skip it for whatever reasons probably lucked out, and the other ones were just kind of like had to be miserable for almost 2 hours. Listen, I thought that Governor Spanberger did well. I thought that it was a really good message, a good message on affordability. That's where Democrats need to be going into this election. You know, there were several different, you know, I mean, I think there was more of a more progressive message that was kind of put out there, and a couple of other things. There was a rally on the mall or something like that as well. So it was kind of a desperate response, which I think happens when you don't have a true leader of the party. But I thought she did a good job, and it's one of the reasons why I understand why Hakeem Jeffries would pick her to do this, right? You know, she's center left. She's pragmatic, and yeah. So I thought it was a good job. Now moving forward, what this means, there's a lot there to unpack in that speech. I think probably, if you're a Democrat, I'd say, fortunately, with the news cycle being what it is, it'll in 2 days, no one will be talking about it. If Republicans think, one of the things that I read a lot of, and I think there's some truth to this, is that this is the Trump that Republicans want to see. If it's yes, do that and continue to do that for the next however months. I think history, if past is prologue, you might get one more performance like that from the president, and then after that he's gonna go off script, because that's who that guy is. And and when he usually goes off script, it does present problems for his party, and it muddles his own message.
Well, we do have Iran looming in the now. We have shifted. So what I was going to say about the last thing about the State of the Union is, and I gave an interview where I said this, is we're at a point now where most people are now turning the page from the State of the Union. It happened. They talked about it this morning, and it's gone. Unless they want to talk about the clip regarding the hockey players or something unique, that Trump said, it's gone. Like in terms of the coverage, we moved on. The TV shows are now focused on Iran and what's going on out there, or what's unfortunately going on with the search for Nancy Guthrie and all these other things that are crowding the news space. This dominated. Now it's over. And a decade ago, you'd have the State of the Union, you'd have 2 to 3 days of coverage of all the policies that needed to get done and all the promises and all the stories around it. And you might have a couple of days of why was Hillary rolling her eyes, all those stories. It's all contained into hours now, and it's gone.
I think it's absolutely illustrative of the difficulty that becomes breaking through a news cycle that never stops moving.
Yes, exactly.
It's exactly to both of your points, that if he had said something that was wild and outlandish, even now, in the afternoon the day after, it might not be news. The only other note I'd like to offer is that apparently the designated survivor last State of the Union was the same designated survivor this year. And so out of curiosity, I'm wondering why the VA secretary is not invited to the State of the Union.
It's so fascinating.
Probably drew the short straw.
Who knows, right? Yeah. Anyway, thanks so much for joining us for the ROKK Rundown. We'll see you guys next week.